He studied English for 7 years. 7 years of textbooks, 7 years of grammar exercises, 7 years of vocabulary lists. And on the day of the most important meeting of his career, he sat in that room and could not say a single sentence.
7 years? And he could not speak?
Not one confident sentence. He understood everything being said around him. But when it was his turn to speak, the words simply would not come.
That is one of the most heartbreaking things I have ever heard about English learning. And honestly, can you relate to that feeling? Maybe you have never been in that exact situation, but have you ever felt like you are studying and somehow your English is just not moving forward? Like you are running on a treadmill, putting in all the effort, but not actually going anywhere? That feeling has a name, and more importantly, it has a solution. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real English Podcast. I am Daniel.
And I am Anna. Today's episode is our Sunday special, and I want to be honest with you. This is the most important episode we have made, because today we are not just teaching you English. We are going to tell you the truth about why you might not be improving and exactly what to do about it. Stay with us, because by the end of this episode, you are going to understand something that most English learners spend years trying to figure out. His name is Arjun. And Arjun is not a bad student. He is actually a brilliant student. The kind of person who takes notes carefully, does all the exercises, and never misses a grammar class.
So he was doing everything right. Why was he not improving? That is the question that kept him awake at 3 a.m. for years. He would lie there thinking, I am doing everything I am supposed to do. Why is everyone else moving forward and I feel like I am standing still? Have you ever had that feeling at 3 a.m? That quiet despair when you feel like you are working hard but getting nowhere?
Arjun had been learning English since he was 15 years old. He was now 22. 7 years. And when his company told him he would need to lead an international client presentation, he felt something he had never felt before. What did he feel? Pure terror. I think most of our listeners know exactly what that feels like. That moment when English stops being a school subject and suddenly becomes very, very real. Exactly. Because up until that point, Arjun's English had always lived inside textbooks and classrooms. It had always been safe, controlled. Nobody was judging him in real time. But in a real meeting with real people, there is no time to check your grammar notes. And that is when Arjun realized something that shook him to the core. He had been learning about English for 7 years, but he had almost never actually used English. Wait, what is the difference? Is that not the same thing? It is not. And that difference between learning about a language and actually using a language is the most important thing we are going to talk about today.
Okay, now I need to know everything. But first, I feel like there is something we need to understand. What exactly was Arjun doing wrong?
Patience. First, let us talk about something that I think is going to feel very familiar to almost every single person listening right now. Imagine you want to learn to swim. So you do the sensible thing. You buy a book about swimming. You read it cover to cover. You learn about buoyancy, arm movements, breathing technique. You watch hundreds of videos of professional swimmers. You take notes.
Okay, and then what?
And then someone throws you in a pool. And you sink.
Ha! Well, yes. Obviously, you cannot learn to swim from a book alone.
Exactly. And yet, this is exactly how most people try to learn English. They study the grammar, they memorize the vocabulary, they watch English videos, they take notes, but they never actually get in the pool. By getting in the pool, you mean actually speaking? Actually using English in real situations? Speaking, writing real messages, having real conversations, making real mistakes in front of real people. That is getting in the pool. And it is terrifying. And it is also the only way it actually works. Speaking, writing real messages, having real conversations, making real mistakes in front of real people, that is getting in the pool. And it is terrifying. And it is also the only way it actually works.
Passive learning. Absorbing information without actively producing or using it, reading, listening, watching. Studying grammar rules is passive learning. You receive the knowledge, but do not use it.
Active learning. Using the language yourself. Speaking, writing, making mistakes, getting feedback. Having a conversation in English, even imperfectly, is active learning. You produce the language.
So, Arjun had been doing almost entirely passive learning for 7 years?
Almost entirely. And here is the painful truth. Passive learning is comfortable. You feel like you are progressing because you are consuming a lot. But consumption is not production. Reading about swimming is not swimming. That is such a powerful way to put it. And I think this explains why so many learners feel stuck. They are learning a lot, but producing very little. Precisely. And Arjun had never really understood this distinction until the night before his presentation, when he finally tried to speak and discovered that 7 years of knowledge had somehow not made it from his head to his mouth.
So what did he do? What happened the next morning?
I will tell you. But first, something important for you to do right now. The night before the presentation, Arjun does something he has never done before. He closes his grammar book, he puts away his vocabulary flashcards, and he does something that feels almost childish to him at the time.
What does he do?
He stands in front of his bathroom mirror and he talks to himself out loud in English about anything, about his day, about what he ate for dinner, about the presentation, about his family, just talking. That is actually really sweet and a little bit brave. And for the first 5 minutes, it is awful. He stumbles, he pauses, he uses the wrong words, he forgets simple vocabulary. He has to stop and restart sentences 3 times. That sounds incredibly frustrating, especially with 7 years of study behind him. It was humbling, but then something shifts. Around the 10-minute mark, something clicks. The sentences start to flow a little more naturally. The pauses get shorter, and for the first time in 7 years, he is not thinking about grammar. He is just talking. 10 minutes. That is all it took to feel the shift? 10 minutes of actual speaking, something he had almost never done before. And he stands there looking at himself in the mirror, and he feels 2 things at the same time. What 2 things? He feels the frustration of, why did nobody tell me to do this years ago? And he feels something else, something he had not felt about English in a very long time.
What did he feel?
Hope.
Oh,
That is everything. After 7 years, he felt hope again. Because he had finally crossed from the comfortable world of passive learning into the uncomfortable, messy, necessary world of active use. And once you cross that line, everything changes. Not overnight, but everything changes.
And the presentation? What happened the next morning?
I am going to tell you, but there is one more thing we need to understand first, because this is the part that will actually change your English journey starting from today.
What is it?
It is something I call the output gap. And once you understand it, you will never approach English learning the same way again. The output gap? What is that exactly? Most English learners spend about 90% of their study time on input, reading, listening, watching, and about 10%, or sometimes 0%, on output, speaking and writing. And the problem is that fluency lives in the output, not the input?
Exactly right. Input builds your understanding. Output builds your fluency. You need both. But most learners do almost entirely one and almost never the other. Input, language you receive, reading, listening, watching, builds comprehension and knowledge. Listening to this podcast is input. You receive the language, but do not produce it. Output, language you produce, speaking, writing, having conversations, builds fluency. Speaking your answer out loud, writing a comment, these are output. You produce the language.
So the fix is simply to do more output, to speak more?
Yes, but there is also a quality to the output that matters. Arjan had not just been avoiding speaking, he had also been avoiding mistakes. And avoiding mistakes is the same as avoiding growth.
That is so true. I think a lot of people are scared to speak because they are scared to be wrong.
And this is the deepest truth about language learning. Mistakes are not the opposite of progress. They are the progress. Every time you say something incorrectly and then notice it and correct it, your brain actually rewires itself. That is not failure. That is learning at the deepest neurological level. Neurological, related to the brain and nervous system, how the brain physically changes when we learn. Learning a language creates new neurological pathways. Your brain literally grows new connections.
So, every mistake is literally making your brain stronger?
Every single one. And once Arjun understood this, he stopped being afraid of making mistakes. He started hunting for them, because each mistake was proof that he was using the language, not just studying it.
I want to ask our listeners something. When was the last time you spoke English out loud? Not in your head, but actually out loud. Think about that honestly. Now, listener practice. Highly interactive, real speaking exercises with genuine pauses. Get in the pool right now. Okay, this is the most important 2 minutes of this entire episode. Right now, wherever you are listening, I want you to do something. This is your output moment, your chance to get in the pool. Speak out loud. Say this sentence, and then continue it in your own words. Ready? The reason I am learning English is... Say it again. Longer this time. More detail. Do not worry about mistakes. Just talk. Now this one. The moment I felt most proud of my English was... And one more. The thing I want to change about how I learn English is... Did you feel that? That slightly uncomfortable, slightly thrilling feeling of actually producing English, not just consuming it, that feeling is growth. That is your brain rewiring itself in real time.
And here is your ongoing challenge. Starting from today, speak English out loud for 5 minutes every single day. To yourself, to your phone, to your mirror. It does not matter who hears it. What matters is that you hear yourself. 5 minutes. That is all. Just get in the pool.
So, the morning of the presentation. Arjun walks into that meeting room. The international clients are there. His colleagues are watching. His manager is watching.
I am nervous for him just listening to this.
He opens his mouth and he speaks. Not perfectly, not without any mistakes, but he speaks clearly, with enough confidence to be understood, with enough warmth to be respected.
That is everything. That is honestly everything.
After the meeting, one of the international clients came up to him and said, "Your English is very natural. You speak like someone who has been using it for a long time."
After one night of speaking to his bathroom mirror,
After one night of actually using the language he had been studying for 7 years. Because the knowledge was always there. It had always been there. It was just locked inside passive memory, and speaking had set it free.
that is such a powerful image. The knowledge was locked inside, and speaking was the key.
Arjun told me later that he now speaks English out loud every single morning. Not for hours, just 10 minutes. He describes it as his daily conversation with himself. And in the years since that presentation, his English has transformed more than it did in the 7 years before it.
Because he was finally in the pool.
Because he was finally in the pool. So here is the truth that nobody tells you about learning English. You are probably not stuck because you do not know enough. You are stuck because you are not using what you know.
Input builds knowledge, output builds fluency. And most learners have years of input and almost no output.
The English lesson today. Learn the difference between passive and active learning, between input and output, and commit to more output starting from today. Speaking, writing, making mistakes, getting back up.
And the life lesson? Knowledge that sits unused is not really knowledge at all. It only becomes truly yours when you use it.
You are not stuck. You are just studying the wrong thing in the wrong way. And that, unlike talent, unlike time, unlike ability, is something you can change, starting right now, starting today. Key takeaway: you are not stuck. You are just studying the wrong thing in the wrong way. Get in the pool.
Here is our Sunday challenge for you. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Speak English out loud for 5 minutes.
And then come to the comments and tell us, what did you talk about? How did it feel? Was it harder or easier than you expected?
We read every single comment, and we will reply to every person who shares their experience today.
If today's episode meant something to you, if it changed something in how you think about your English learning, please share it with one person. One person who might be feeling exactly the way Arjun felt before that night. One person who needs to hear that they are not stuck. They just need to get in the pool.
Subscribe to Real English Podcast for a new episode every single day. Every weekday, grammar and vocabulary. Every Sunday, a story and a truth that might just change everything.
Thank you so much for being here this Sunday. We believe in you, completely and without question. Now go speak some English.
Bye everyone, enjoy your Sunday, and get in the pool.